But now we'll move on to GCN Plus. An announcement came out today. Benji, have you got it up?
So basically, everybody that has a subscription has gotten an email appropriate to their region, right? It was region specific that the GCN Plus and the GCN app would be disappearing. Is that a good summary?
Yes, pretty much. That, dear GCN Plus subscriber, we are sending you this email as a valued subscriber of GCN Plus. We're sorry to inform you that the GCN Plus service and the GCN app will close on 19 December 2023. Yeah, that's it, really. And like, people get a pro rata refund, and also the weird thing about this was, and then there's also the YouTube video on GCN YouTube channel. There was us thinking, where do we go watch cycling now? Which we'll get to in a second. But you've done a little bit of research, Benji. Do you want to maybe run through people like where this is coming from? Because I think Daniel Lloyd said in the GCN video that this was a decision of their parent company, Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah, so basically most people know GCN as the YouTube channel, which initially started in 2013, is my guess, pure guess. But throughout the years since that, there's been major changes when it comes to the ownership of that, because in 2015, Discovery, which is the Discovery Communications company, took full ownership of Eurosport, which is outside of this. But then in 2017, 2 years later, they actually took a 20% stake in the media group that is behind GCN Global Cycling Network, which that media group is called Play Sports Group. And that 20% stake, you can't do that much with a 20% stake. You don't have like full ownership, whatever, or controlling interest. But in 2019, they upped that. Discovery Communications acquired a controlling interest in Play Sports Group, increasing the 20% to 71%. And that's when we saw a few changes in the spectrum, because as most people will know, Discovery, if they own Eurosport, they've got the connections with broadcasting rights, licenses to broadcast races, to make summaries of races, whatever. And in 2019, we see them taking over GCN with controlling interest, which means that in 2020, we then see the rise of the GCN Race Pass. I completely forgot this existed before I was looking this up, because this was basically GCN Plus before it was GCN Plus. So in 2020, that included live racing, films, and weekly shows. But then the year after, in 2021, GCN Plus was started, which was basically that. Just a combination of all that, the live racing broadcast, the coverage we are watching most of the year. So 2021 is where that started, but there's been some changes at Discovery, I would say, because they have the Discovery Plus streaming service for themselves, which I think they also have a combination with HBO Max in that, which includes HBO shows like Game of Thrones and so forth, and Westworld. Check that out. Anyway. That is one streaming service. Eurosport Player was a streaming service of Eurosport when they acquired Eurosport, so that's the second streaming service. And then the third one is GCN Plus, that that Discovery kind of helped make in the 2 years after they had their controlling interest. So 3 streaming services, which GCN Plus was straight up cycling, Eurosport Player was straight up sports, and Discovery Plus was TV shows, movies, but also some sports included also in the US and so forth. But January 12, 2023, we saw signs that Eurosport Player was being phased out. I'm currently in the UK, and when I go to the Eurosport Player website, it's telling me that they're moving to Discovery Plus. So that means one of the 3 streaming services is moving into Discovery Plus. They're basically trying to move all their streaming services into Discovery Plus. And unfortunately, today, Wednesday, November 15th, we see the next sign, which is GCN Plus and the GCN app closing, which it's not just the streaming service GCN Plus moving to Discovery Plus. It's also some surrounding stuff disappearing, right? The GCN app disappearing is one thing, but also some of the shows and what happens with the documentaries that were made on GCN Plus. I'm like, I've got so many questions about that stuff, you know? But that's the run through the timeline, I'd say.
Yeah, so that's what is a little bit confusing to me, is that there's the acquisition of Play Sports Group Network, whatever, by Warner Brothers Discovery, and then they presumably green light with their investment or funding or whatever the creation of GCN Plus.
Yeah.
And then they shutter it 3 years, 4 years after they've made it. Now, I must admit, and listen, GCN Plus, I don't think I would have been able to get the podcast off the ground because I was in Australia, and so there's no way to watch every single race legally in Australia, really. There wasn't before GCN Plus or most of the races. And, you know, for me, you, Benji, or a lot of the degenerates listening, GCN Plus is like, especially if you're not in Europe and you can't have access to Eurosport, is the best way to watch all the races. The Tour de France is often, it's on SBS in Australia, or it's on a NBC in America, or I don't know. That's easy to get access to, but the other races we want to watch across the year, the BBC and SBS, they don't want to carry those Volta Valenciana and put them on. So really, really sucks, and obviously also terrible because Play Sports or GCN or whatever you want to call it is maybe or probably the biggest employer in Anglophone cycling media.
Yeah.
So that's also really bad for people whose jobs might be affected by this news, and it obviously is coming from above. So that's a real shame for them, and as well with the quality of the content. Like, it was a dedicated Outfor Cycling, right? So they are going to put more effort into the coverage of those races
100%.
that we all love, that maybe not the broader public will love. Hopefully they will get more of the broader public than a bigger broadcaster or whoever who they're like, okay, we'll do the Tour du Paris, but is Danilis Nikira Corsa really going to move our bottom line? No.
I think, like, I agree with you there. As in, first of all, thoughts with the people that are working at GCN Plus that are affected by this, that are working at GCN that are affected by this, because obviously they're the first ones that are impacted. But also next to that, you said it there. You hit the nail in the coffin. No, that's not the correct
nail on the head.
Nail on the head. Bit of a different expression there, but I almost blamed you for killing GCN there for a second. you
Warner Brothers did that, brother.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you said that Discovery, now called Warner Bros. Discovery.
Oh, they merged.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that company, I have a hard time believing that they will understand what the cycling fandom, the cycling fans that we are, want to see throughout the season. Nor they'll just think with their wallet.
Yeah, and as you said, you know, it's not a dedicated service. I will say that if you compare what GCN Plus was offering throughout the year, and like, it's not a plug. I know they advertised the podcast this year, but it's not a plug because, you know, it's shuttering in December. But if you compare it to the other over-the-top streaming services, it was too cheap. It was too cheap. Like, in my opinion, when you see the cost of competitors in the cycling space who had less of a rights package in most territories, but importantly, against other niche sports, it could have been double the price, because I thought it was too cheap. Now, obviously, people are like, well, they want to pay less, but I think but whether that would have changed anything, I don't know. I do think it was, and back to the Discovery point, I also thought it was odd that they had GCN Plus and Eurosport Player sitting side by side, because the broadcast rights agreement must have been done at Discovery level, right? So Discovery goes to ASO, Discovery goes to RCS, goes to Flanders Classics. They get the rights in one agreement for their various properties, Eurosport and GCN Plus. I never understood why Eurosport Player, or now Discovery Plus, and this is what we're about to get to, why they couldn't have just done that offering for outside of Europe. Why did they greenlight the creation of a second app for rights? They had the right to distribute it. That bit never made much sense to me, and it still doesn't make sense here, where there's been, I think, it's on an article on the Eurosport website saying if you are in Europe in most of the main countries, you're kind of fine. You subscribe to Eurosport Player or Plus, whatever, for roughly the same price, same catalogue of races. But if they have the rights already for the GCN Plus to show the Tour de France non-exclusively in Australia, why can't Australians do that with Discovery Plus or Eurosport? That's what doesn't make sense to me. Why aren't they offering it in these countries? They said they're going to work with local partners.
I don't know that either. I think it's because it's not built. Like they don't have it built for that specific region. Maybe they might not have the team for that specific region.
I mean, it's just geo-blocking, isn't it? Fuck.
I'm not sure. They need specific support teams for that area.
True.
I think it's a bit more than that. Management for that area, some kind of like. But I agree that would be the most logical decision, because like now they're trying to get everybody to Discovery Plus, but you said it. It could have been more money for GCN Plus in the past, but Discovery Plus is also nearly double the price for 12 months. In Norway, it's 5 times the price. In Denmark, it's 4 times the price. In Germany, you're lucky because then it's apparently cheaper.
Really?
Which is odd. So we all got to move to Germany. People, like every cycling fan, move to Germany. That's the only solution I see here. But you're saying it's available in all those countries, like you said, at Eurosport Player and so forth. But if they're also planning to phase that out, and I feel like they're just phasing out too early, as in,
wow,
Discovery Plus is not even launched in Belgium and France yet. So
that's the part that doesn't make sense to me.
Because now the Belgians would have to move to Eurosport Player, is what they're saying, right? But then they're going to phase out Eurosport Player, so then we're going to have to move to Discovery Plus, and like, man, this is a fucking carousel every year at this point. Like,
yeah.
Am I going to get a refund every year for my subscription that I had for the service that they're phasing out? Or what's the long-term plan here?
I can understand if you're a parent company and you have multiple streaming services that have a group of customers across them, and each Eurosport Player, GCN Plus, and now Discovery Plus each has the right to broadcast live cycling races under the same umbrella rights agreement. I can understand consolidating them. I can understand it. And I can also understand that, you know, people have subscription fatigue, and bundling things is probably the way you want to go, generally speaking, so people don't have a million different subscriptions to things if they can avoid it. Assuming that someone might have a Discovery Plus subscription for the reality TV and then a GCN Plus subscription for the cycling, put the two together, save that person a bit of money, I guess is the theory. But as you just said, there is no seamless transition. Like, GCN Plus has built up this customer base, and with their editorial and with their films and with their digital media products outside of the live race, they've built up the community customer base and the data and stuff. And then basically on 15 November, 1 month into the off season, you cut them there. How are you going to get all the cycling fans across to Discovery Plus on February 1?
Like, especially not this way, as in, go look at that article to figure out what you need to look at next time, is a shitty way to communicate. I was thinking, let's say they offer a reduced price for existing GCN Plus customers. That's one thing they could have done, but didn't, right?
I don't even care about the reduced price for existing customers. I don't think you're entitled to a reduced price. If they just said it's not going to be on GCN Plus, but your whole commentary team, everything is basically the GCN Plus Eurosport live broadcast is now going to be on Discovery Plus. It's the same price, and you get all the same races. Everyone will be like, all right, bit annoying to change.
Yeah.
But really, that's not the end of the world for consumers. But the fact that there's territories, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, India, Asia, US in places. Is Discovery Plus not in the US?
The app exists, but it's restricted to not sports, if I recall correctly.
So then, huge markets. And now if I'm ASO, right, and you just done a Netflix series, and things are going well, and cycling's doing well, and you're wanting that to have a positive effect on all your non-Tour de France races, well, all of a sudden, people in those countries are going to have to pay either a lot more, pay multiple different places, or have actually, in a lot of cases, and I remember the dark ages, unfortunately, where
The dark ages.
there's a lot of World Tour races where if you're in those countries, you had no ability to watch them legally, which is ridiculous.
Like,
and that we could be going back to that.
who are the winners? The pirates is how I'd see it. Like, this will lead more people to pirating cycling coverage,
which doesn't put any money in the organizers' pockets, or the team's pockets, or the riders' pockets, or the general people who make a living off cycling's pockets, the media's pockets. So, yeah, it's a shame. I mean, option A, if I was ASO/RCS Flanders Classics. Now, I don't know if they could band together with if that's anti-competitive, but if I was ASO, I'd be thinking we need to copy Formula One, NFL, NBA. They need their own streaming service that they own. They don't need to sell the rights to their own races to themselves. They have all their package of races, including and then maybe you rip the Tour de France out of it, because mostly people can access the Tour de France relatively easily. And you say these big broadcasters are not going to put the same editorial effort into broadcasting Troy Broe or Paris Tour outside of France. That is, France TV does a good job.
Yeah.
Outside of France, if we want to grow US, Canada, Australia, all these countries, Germany, we got to do it ourselves and control it ourselves. And they can make money off subscription revenue, like GCN Plus did.
If the races start benefiting from that, there's going to be one party that's going to be really unhappy, which is the teams who have been complaining for so bloody long that they're not earning any money of the broadcasting.
Well, now the teams go to explain to your sponsors, Jayco Alula, why you're doing a race. I'll pick another one. That I'm trying to think of a race. Basque Country.
Yeah.
Go explain why Simon Yates is doing Basque Country and no one in Australia can watch that race next year, maybe, possibly. But we don't know that for sure, but possibly.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, ASO probably would make less money off, I don't know, but I think that's option A, that would match other sports, how they do it, where the organizer, because then you have continuity, they have a vested interest in making sure that works. So that's option A. And then the option B, there's another company that comes into that tries to get live rights. But, speaking from experience, that's like people say, oh, why don't you try and do something? It's like with the highlight video rights, I had a business plan and projected, okay, but if it didn't work out, I was going to guarantee that with our personal savings. Basically, we're going to guarantee any shortfall. With live rights, that's not possible. You need you need investment to do that. You need to then, okay, say you got a deal with ASO, fantastic, excluding the tour. I wouldn't go for the tour. Okay, you're missing RCS races, you're missing the classics, you're missing Basque Country, E3, Valenciana, Andalusia. You're still missing a load of races, and so it's really hard to build a proper package to cover the whole year.
You need a lot of money.
And you need a lot of money because you need to build up subscribers, or even if you did it on YouTube and had a custom agreement with YouTube and split the revenue, like membership revenue with them, and had it behind a YouTube paywall, still, because that would save you on the app infrastructure, which is also a big cost. But
true.
Then YouTube's taken 35% as well.
Minimum,
and then,
probably.
Yeah, and then how are you gonna incorporate advertising into YouTube live streams? I guess you could do it, but then it's not like Eurosport. Yeah, so it's difficult. It's not an easy proposition. And anyway, it's a shame. I feel for the people at GCN Plus. It sounds like it was a big, very obviously very, very bad news for them. And I guess we'll stay tuned, Benji, because I'm now going to be thinking, how do we watch these races next year? What's the best way to watch these races? And I guess, you got any other thoughts on it?
Not really. As in, first of all, my main thought is that there's not too many people affected in the company itself, but also next to that, I hope that it doesn't lead to less people enjoying the sport that we're
Yeah.
trying to enjoy, because that's the most important part. They're trying to enjoy the sport of cycling, and this might take away from that.
You don't know how good you had it until it's gone. When it's a Tuesday afternoon in February, you load up Andalusia, Valenciana, Algarve double header.
At the same
You
time.
sit back and you're like, yeah, let's go. Jesus. Anyway, hopefully it all works out. Hopefully, as I said, if the existing rights agreements already allow it in those geographies for GCN Plus, I'm hoping with a bit of legwork over the next 2-3 months, they could put something together for those countries as well. But anyway, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, Benji, of cycling as always. But we'll keep plugging away. We'll keep trucking along. That's what we do.
Exactly.
All right.
Run out of content here. Sorry.
Well, no, yeah, Benji's run out. All right, that's all from us. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. We thought we'd give you that little update on the Women's Awards show. And yeah, we'll see you with, I think, the start of team previews once I'm back in Australia next week. Until then, ciao.